Wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Did you know that wasn't me?
I should just wait on the ship.
Well, good morning. It's Monday. It's time to get back to work on K2SO, and I promise I'll have better camera work this week. I don't know what happened last week, but it was pathetic and beneath me, and I shall not repeat those mistakes again. So this week, before we get too much into the finish of K2SO, I want to work out the electronics for the eyes because it's going to take, it's going to involve some manhandling, and I don't want to have to worry about scratching up something. So let me get all the manhandling done that I'm going to need to do on him before I put a final finish. But I'm liking the black. I think it's working out well. So my attention is turning to the eyes. Now the kit eyes are straight up 3PO. Those are straight up 3PO eyes, although they go in from the inside, and then I am putting a little bit of screening behind them. But I've come up with an idea that I like, and we'll see, like most of my ideas, we'll see if it has any practical application in the real world. But I've noticed from watching the film that one of the expressive things about K2SO is that his eyes move. They move inside of the sockets there. They are not static, straight up droid eyes. Now, a lot of the kits and stuff that I've seen have shown, just basic straight up droid eyes. Now, it turns out that these little pocket flashlights, these LED flashlights, are just about the right size. They're a little bit smaller than what the eye sockets are, they're smaller than the eye sockets. So, you could just stick one of these in here. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. You could stick one of those in like that and call it done. Put a little grate behind it. But what I want to do is find a way to make them movable inside of the eye sockets. So it's something that will have to be puppeteered. It won't be, anything that I can use a remote for. But what I'm thinking of is to take two of these, do them side by side. Two of these side by side on a carriage, and somehow find a way to make that carriage move up and down and side to side, so that I can move them inside the eye sockets, and they will move in unison. So they will be stuck together, so that I can get basically eye movement. That's the big idea for this week. We'll see if it can work. And on the Maria front, I looked up some good ideas over the weekend for stands for Maria. And some of the ones I saw that I liked involved lighting from the bottom, lighting up towards the Maria. That might add some interest. I think I might want to incorporate some lighting into her base. Okay, welcome back. It's Tuesday, and all of this mess means we're getting closer. Went out to Harbor Freight this morning and picked up some cheap flashlights. Picked up 4 of these. And I've already taken the Dremel and cut the back off of 2 of them. And these are going to be my eyes. I have figured out how to wire them up. What I want to do is put them on some sort of carrier that will hold them the right distance apart. That's a framework that I could put behind here and move left to right and right to left and up and down. These guys, these 3PO bits have to go in behind it first, and then these will sit sort of like this. It's if I'm looking at it from the back, there's the socket. Then this kind of sits on top, and then this will sit inside it, and this gives this clear piece. Let me take it over here. Move Maria out of the way. I will show you. This clear piece is going to be my range of motion. So if I mount this and glue it down, then the eye is only going to be able to move side to side this much, top to bottom this much, which is all you really need, because that's the outside limit of the eye socket. So I just need to glue that down to there. I figure out how to paint this up first. Glue that down, and then once that sits on top, then it should be able to move right to let you know. That's my range of motion. So it's all coming together. It doesn't look like a lot right now, but hopefully it'll start to coalesce in a next day or so. Okay, I'm turning my attention to the eyes themselves right now, and I don't like these. They are, well, for the lack of a better term, I don't like the unevenness of them. They're wonky, they're crooked, and as I can find in the reference material, there should be 6 of these, not 5. There should be, see, there's only 1, 2, 3, yeah, there's 1 in the center, and 2 off of either side. There should be 6 of them, not 5 of them. So, let's at least try before I give up. I'm going to at least try to make a set of my own, and if it doesn't work out, I'll use those as a fallback. But make a set of my own. I've got some. I made a circle out of some flat stock, and I'm going to try spacing out some of these guys. So that'll be an interesting test. Before I, like I said, before I give up and use those, I'm going to at least try to make my own. Okay, I've just started. Oh, by the way, it is Wednesday. I'm back at working on the eyes of K2SO, and what I did is I printed out some actual size eyes with the correct spacing of the verticals, and I transferred that to paper and then stuck it down to some foam, and using that to put the spacers in, and I've got all 6 vertical lines in each eye, and I got them relatively straight. I think that will be fine. I'm going to let this dry and then come back and maybe do some reinforcing of the joints with a little bit of 10X, maybe a little bit of epoxy, who knows. But I'm going to let these dry, and then we'll be ready to pop them into there. Well, good morning. It's Thursday, and interspersed in amongst all the other jobs I've got going on this week, trying to work in as much K2SO eye work as possible. It's coming along slowly, which is kind of nice because I'm not rushing through and having a tendency to screw up something. But got the eye grills done, you saw that. And today my question is, how do I make the eyes stop blinding me? I'm using these little Harbor Freight flashlights. You've seen that. Let me go get the reach over here. Hold on one second. Then I'm back. Here's what the mechanism looks like to hold them the proper distance apart. I've cut the backs off of them because I don't need them. I'm going to solder the wiring into it to make that work. Since you saw it last, I've put some epoxy into it so everything is good and it's nice and stiff. But it has one problem, and that is these little guys will blind you. They are very, very bright. Now I am planning, and I'll have to see how well it works, of running these in series, and hopefully the drop in voltage will dim them down enough. And if it doesn't, and I have to run the full, 5 volts, 3 times 1.5, 3, yeah, 5 volts into them, then I can't even do this. I can't put this into the camera without subjecting you to blinding, and I don't want to do that. So I'm also playing with the size of the pupils and sockets, and the various size of the eyes, irises, and things like that. But if I turn that on right now, it will blind us all, and no one wants to have that happen. So I'm figuring how to dull this down. Well, I thought, okay, I'll get a piece of this packaging material that is a frosted plastic. So I cut a little disc of that out, stuffed it in there. Still not dull enough. Still too bright. So got my window tinting film out, and I tinted both sides of this. This is the result. This is tinted on both sides with window tinting film. It is the dulled. It is the plastic package material that is frosted. And when I stuff this in here, put it inside. Now it may still act up on camera. We'll see. Yeah, it still acts up on camera, but it gives you a, now, and also in the fact that these will be you know, kind of back inside the head, that's going to knock down the light as well. But it looks something like that. But at least I can look into it now without, you know, wanting to cry. It's not blindingly bright. So that, I think, is going to be what works. And now all I need to do is carry that technology over to here and get them ready to install. But the nice thing about having these extra flashlights out here is I can do all my practice work kind of out here and then apply it to the actual thing. I'm going to have to see a better way of getting the film to stick, the tinting film. I don't think the tinting film wants to stick to this substrate, this material, because it's got a tooth to it. It's not glossy. So that may be hurting the ability of the window tinting to stick to it. So may have to tint one side twice instead of two, you know, one on each side. So I have to figure all this stuff out. Okay, here's what I've just learned. I've learned that a single one of these that has a cumulative voltage of about 5 is, when you put it across both of these, dims it down so low that it's not what I want. I also learned soon thereafter that 9 volts going straight into these, even though they are in series, they're in series, they're not parallel. They have the voltage going into one, out to the other. It's not parallel into both of them. 9 volts was way too much. It wasn't, it was comparable to a full flashlight, but I didn't want to run the risk of them getting warm or burning out. So I wanted to put a resistor on it, and that's what I've done. I've put a resistor in line to both of these. Now the good thing about that is I can now power this with 9 volts, which are much easier to swap in and out, and I'm used to working with 9 volt batteries, and everybody's happy with that. And when I use the nice little clip and I attach it, we now have bulbs that I can look into without burning my retinas out. So I know that they're not quite as bright as they used to be, which is a good thing, but they are still nice and bright. And if I can find what happened to the disc that I had done the tinting to, I can see what they look like with the tinting in it. Hold on one second. Okay, here is the tinted disc and the no tinted disc. And you can see the difference in, see, I'm shining that right in there and I'm not getting the lens flare. That's putting the lens flare in. So what I want to do now is carry over the pattern of the, you can see it here, the pattern of the eyeball on top of that, on top of both of these. And then the cumulative effect should be that I get 2 lights that are have a pattern to them and are not so bright that they blind you. Okay, I'm on a tripod. Are you happy? But here's keep this thing in view. Okay, starting to get an idea here of how things are going to work. Again, they don't have well, let me put this one in so you can see. This is the shaded tinted version. That's starting to come together. Now the idea is that this would be something that I can move back and forth, up and down, to get some sort of mobility out of it, to get some expression. But it's starting to come together. That's better. I had to get rid of the blinding afternoon sun. So late Thursday afternoon, and I'm getting the details, starting to put some of the details down, and those include the veins in the eyes there, and the tusks, and that little dimple part here. Oops, that little dimple part there. And then we'll start worrying about getting the finish. Now, it's not going to be a perfectly smooth finish because it's a droid. It's been beaten up. Plus, this is a rough casting. It's not. It's got smooth. It's got dings and scratches in it, and I didn't make them any better by all of the sanding I did. So I need to decide which damaged parts I'm going to keep and which ones I am going to try to minimize or get rid of. And then we can, hopefully tomorrow, finish out the week by getting the eyes installed. Wouldn't that be fun? And that's where we are right now. Okay, I think I've got a good solution on the eyes. It's easy on the eyes, but here you go. I'm trying to keep it from shining directly into the camera, but even when I do, it's not nearly as blinding as it used to be, and it doesn't flare out the camera lens. But there you go. Now all I need to do is make the little mechanism that this will sit in inside the head so that I can do the right to left and the up and down. And I don't want to do too much of that because I can do that with the head. I don't need to do that with the eyes as well. If I can do right, left, and up, if I can do up and down and right and left, I think I'll be happy. Okay, we're going to try this again. Here we have the head with the details all affixed to it, and I'm going to try to give you a simulated view of what it would look like with the eyes inside. So here is the eye module. Here is the eye module. There we go. Trying to do this back. There we go. Backwards, inside and out. But something like that. I wanted to be able to do this, up and down, and right and left. Down, right, and left. Yeah. Now if I can only find a way of doing this without having to hold it in both hands. But that's good progress for today, so signing off for tonight, and we'll pick this up again tomorrow. Well, hello everybody. It's Friday afternoon. It is a glorious day out here. So I'm going to try to get a top coat on at least the neck and shoulder area, collar area if you want to call it that. I found a great color that is called dark spiral gray metallic. It is not black, which is what I was trying to avoid. I was trying to avoid using an actual black on K2 because I think that does not give me the best results. Makes them look too imperial, for lack of a better term. I know he's an imperial droid, but there's just something about black. It's like white. It is makes it look like cheap plastic. So just give it a little bit of depth to it by using this dark spiral gray metallic. So I've got a coat of it out here drying on the neck and collar, and I'm continuing work on the inside of the main part of the head. But sit outside and let this dry in the sun, or in the shade for right now. Here we are back inside, and you can see where I'm kind of at with the head sitting on a piece of foam right now because I've got those delicate tusks in the front right now, and every time I move this I'm afraid of breaking something off. So as you can see, here's where I'm at my sticking point. I've got the eyes. See, the eyes fit in behind there, and I need to make some sort of running track for them so that when I sit them in like this, I can move them around on a bit of a track. So that's what I'm trying to ponder out now, figuring the best way of doing that. I'm thinking some sort of, C clamp over top of this that will allow some range of movement, but will keep it, kind of in place and not let it go all over. And then I need to cut out through here some form of stick, for lack of a better term, like this, some sort of maneuvering stick, so that I can puppeteer the eyes back and forth, something I can paint to blend in with the rest of it. So that's where we are up to the minute. Now, lest you think I've forgotten about Maria this week, I offer you this. When looking around for an adequate base to put her on, it was important to me that it had some lighting effect in it so that I could make up for the basic, statue-ness of Maria. The fact that she doesn't move, doesn't walk, doesn't talk, doesn't have pretty lights on it, doesn't make a sound, doesn't have decals, doesn't have much of a paint job. So I wanted to look for a nice base, and I started scouring the house for something. This was the idea I had in mind. I wanted a base with some lights that shot up at her, because then you get the nice, reveal of the Art Deco lines and all of that. And then in my scouring, I came across this, which is an old beer sign. Basically, it used to have a mock-up of a bottle of Coors on it. And it was a beer light, and these blue lights came on and faded in and out to show you that it was cold. Big deal. Well, I've had that forever, and thought perhaps this would be a good chance to use it on Maria, and cannibalized it. And I'm going to paint it up, add some detail to it, add a Metropolis logo in vinyl on the front of it. I'm going to make a little shield, a little bit of a Art Deco-ness thing here that hides these bulbs, some sort of housing, and then nail her down to it, or epoxy her down to it, and I think it'll solve all of my problems with it, and shows her off in a nice light. Even the lights at her feet manage to make it up to highlighting the underside of her eyebrows and stuff, like her eyelids, which I think is really sharp. But yeah, I hadn't forgotten about her. She just kind of took side importance. Here's a last look for the weekend, or for the week until the weekend. Had to put them up on the stand. Starting to look very smooth. This feels very smooth. Getting enough coats of polish and finish on there to where I'm using 500, 600, 800 grit sandpaper, wet sanding it, really getting it done, even if it's not 100% smooth like a bowling ball. I want the paint to at least be very smooth. There you can see the eyes slits are in there. And it's important that I get all the painting done around the eyes before I put the lights in behind them, because I don't want to be spraying paint where the lights are, because it'll end up getting on the lenses for the lights. So I want to make sure all that's done before I put the lights in behind it. This area I'm getting ready to work on next week. It needs the most attention as far as getting the paint, the silvers and the blacks repainted in there. The base very close to being done. It's just ready to do the nicking up and the damaging, and there's a silver ring I want to put in here, and I'm going to try to cut that out of a chrome vinyl so that it looks like a good chrome trim. But it's coming along very nicely, I think. Slowly, that's for sure, but it is coming along. And I think that's going to do it for this week. Got a lot of work done on the eyes for K2SO. Getting these guys done and figured out is probably the biggest achievement for the week. And getting those little, the slits, these guys, so I don't have to use these. Getting those guys done, also very important. In the midst of all this, I had to get another order out. I announced that my Franklin templates were ready for purchase, and immediately was given a couple of good-sized orders. So those are the things I got to do. Plus, you may or may not know, but on the side I do sign work. I do little plastic signs. So I had an order to do some plastic signs for a local. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hide this. I don't know what it is. I think it's a mosquito bite, an early mosquito. Early bird gets the blood, apparently, because I went outside to do some priming, and when I came back I noticed I had been bitten and it is swelling up to the size of a goose egg. So to spare you from all this, I will hold my hand here for the rest of this wrap up. But getting the lights, finding these lights for Maria actually saved me a lot of time. I know it took a while to get to this point, but it actually saved me some time because I don't have to build this thing now. All I got to do is fix it and paint it, and it'll be done. Let's see, what else is there? By gosh, I think that's it. So until next week when we continue work on these, maybe start getting a voice in on K2SO next week, and get Maria's base wrapped up. I will say be good to each other. Don't get bit. Be careful. Those mosquitoes are bloodthirsty. They're out of their hibernation and they're ready to get. They've got a taste for blood. So I will see you next week and be good.